The first question I'd like to ask you is how Humane Rescue has had to adapt with COVID-19.
It has been an incredible time for us. So when we saw the pandemic coming to the community, we sat down with some flip chart papers and just started saying, what is essential that we have to keep doing no matter what? What are the things we want to try to keep doing if we can? And what should we just let go of for now? And there were a couple of things that were of real concern to us at the beginning. One was, were we going to get a bunch of pets in from people who got COVID and couldn't care for their pets? And so we put a very early call out to the community saying, if you're thinking at all about adopting, please come now. If you could help us by fostering an animal, let us know. We were completely overwhelmed by the result of that appeal for help, because people came in droves to adopt. And the thing they said to us is, you know, we've been thinking about adopting anyway. We're going to be working from home for a little bit. We think it is a good time to get a pet. And so tons of people adopted from us. But the foster response is what blew us away. We had altogether 2,400 people offer to foster for us. And of those 2,400, 1,900 filled out all the paperwork. So right at the beginning, we had way more foster homes than we actually had animals. And so we just started moving animals into foster care. And for the duration of the pandemic, we've had many more animals living in the homes of community members than we have in our shelters. So that's been really exciting, because the fosters have created this whole community together where they've met new friends. I mean, we can't see our old friends right now. And it's been really meaningful for those foster caregivers to meet new people and develop relationships with them over the love of HRA animals. But I think the other thing is that people maybe who were afraid to foster have seen how wonderful it is and how meaningful it is. And I think they're going to stay with us. So that's been amazing. You know, at the same time that we were reinventing almost everything we do, we also kept doing all of the basic core mission work that we've always done and the community has always needed us for. So our law enforcement officers are out there investigating cruelty and neglect, and those calls still come in. Our animal control officers are rescuing animals in distress, whether it's dogs or cats or deer or eagles or any species you can imagine. So our essential work has continued just as it always did, but then we've reinvented a bunch of things to adapt to the reality of society right now.
Wow, that's amazing. How many foster failures do you think you might end up with? Any bets being taken on that?
You know, it hasn't appeared to be too different than our typical foster program failure rate. Somewhere around probably 10% who sign up just end up keeping the animal. And that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the one-time failure is wonderful.
Yeah. And then others have adopted the animal out and said, okay, I'd like to get back on the bench to get another one. So we've had a lot of repeat foster families too.
We have been trying to encourage with emails that virtual adoptions are taking place and that we're still involved. What does a virtual adoption look like?
Well, when we saw the response to the foster appeal for help, we knew we were going to have to do something creative with our adoption process, because we didn't want to have animals just building up in homes until we could go back into the shelters to do adoptions. So our team very quickly designed a completely virtual process. And it works just like the conversation we're having right now, where a person sees an animal or is referred to one or is on our website and sees an animal they want to meet. They arrange for the virtual meet and greet. It's done on Zoom or Microsoft Teams or any number of online platforms. And people get to see the animal in the background and meet them that way and talk to the foster provider. And so it's all done from the comfort of home. And the fosters love it because they get to meet the people who are going to adopt the animal that they've become so close to. It's very easy for the animal because they're not being moved around. And I think it's really nice for people to see animals in a home setting as opposed to behind bars or in a cage. So I think it's been a wonderful thing. And one of the things I'm really proud of is that our team did such a good job that our adoption process got national attention. And now we're teaching shelters all over the country how to do virtual adoptions. We have a whole page on our website that's just dedicated to doing virtual adoptions, and it's being used by shelters across the country.
HRA is certainly a leader and an innovator, and how neat that is. And I'm with you on that. I think an animal will always be better in a home setting although truthfully, when I adopted my last couple, I really didn't want to go to the shelter, but your shelter is more like having their own little cubicles. They're not in puppy jail or kitty cat jail. They're all quite well cared for, but I love the fact that your fostering has gotten even so much bigger. This may be how things are done in the future.
That is really, we're asking ourselves, of all the innovations we've made during this time, what are the ones we want to continue? And I think more animals in foster care. We've been doing a lot of telemedicine where our vets actually see foster animals also through a Zoom or online platform. And that's really nice for the animal because they don't have to go into a vet office unless it's really serious. And I think that what's been beautiful about this foster surge is we all feel so helpless right now. We're all completely out of our routines. We don't have contact with many of the people we love and we're used to being with. And I think this fostering has allowed people to feel like they're giving back to the community at a time when everything else is disrupted. And they see that they're making a difference beyond themselves or beyond their family for these pets and for the people that adopt them. And so there's been a real hidden value of community building that was beyond what we expected.
If they're really honest, they're going to tell you they had a fun time too.
I think so. And I'm a person who's fostered, and I've foster failed at least 4 times. So I think you're right.
Well, one of the other programs that you have that I was wondering, you have a program called Safe Haven for victims of domestic violence. Has that program still been able to go on? How has it been affected? And have you unfortunately taken in more under that program than one would hope?
We were really concerned about domestic violence increasing during this time when people are strained and they're in close quarters and they may be fearful of whether they're going to get a paycheck or where their next meal is going to come from. So we determined very early on that program needed to continue, and it's held steady, which is good. We were concerned that there might be an uptick. That has not happened yet, but we're staying very vigilant. And the other thing we know is that if violence is happening to a person in a home, if there's an animal there, they may be experiencing it too. So from the standpoint of our anti-cruelty work, which is so closely hand in glove with Safe Haven, we felt it was important to continue with that and to just stay open and make sure people know that we're available for them.
It's a wonderful program, and I'm hoping maybe somebody sees this that maybe didn't know you had that program. It might be very helpful to them. The COVID rules change almost daily these days, but it looks like more and more people are going to be able to go back to work. Now, their wonderful loving pets have had them home for months now, daily, probably walking more times in the course of the day than they particularly want to. But what are some of the things that people who are going back to work should be considering with regard to their four-legged family members?
It's so funny because the joke in animal welfare has been that the cats can't wait for us to go back to work, and the dogs are going to be traumatized when we go back to work. And I don't think that's true. I think they're all individuals and they all react differently. We actually have a member of our behavior team, the director of the department, Alexandra Dilly, who is working with university in London on a study around what does happen as we go back to work, and what does that mean for our pets. And so we are actively involved in a study that's doing research on this. But in terms of advice to give people, I mean, I think that we certainly want people, if they can, to continue at least a walk a day, maybe not the 4 or 5 that they're doing now, but make sure they continue the walk a day. And if there is any issue with the animal, we have a wonderful behavior department that does one-on-one consultations with people, that offers classes. We have transitioned many of those classes to a virtual format during this time, and we're going to continue with that because it's been very successful. So we have a lot of resources that we can give people who might see some kind of behavior change in a pet. But I think that overall, I don't think there are going to be huge behavioral implications. One thing we're really concerned about is, are people able to go back to the same level of employment that they had? Is there a member of the household who's been laid off? Are there food insecurities? Is there an inability to provide veterinary care? So those are all things we're investing in now to expand what we were doing 6 months ago, because we know the need is going to be great as the economic hardship continues. So we have some great partners led by Greater Good, who are literally delivering tons of pet food to us. And we're distributing the pet food out to members of our community and to other shelters who might be in need. And we are looking at expanding our pet support services in the community, particularly accessible veterinary care, so that people don't have to make hard decisions about whether they bring their child to the doctor or whether they bring their animal to the vet. We want to take care of that niche for people so that the animal family member is cared for. And so we're really looking to expand that, and we're having wonderful responses from foundations who are supporting that work.
That's great. And I heard you mention Greater Good. I click every day on the animal rescue site to donate food to shelters across the country. And they really are a marvelous group.
They are amazing. And we have such an incredible relationship with them now, where they've seen how we're distributing this food and that we're sharing it with other shelters and we're giving it to community members. And so they have committed to continuing to work with us. And they call us as soon as they know another shipment's coming in. And we actually have a couple of large trailers set up where we're storing that food and awaiting shipments and distributing as soon as it comes in. And our whole team has come together to make that possible.
I think that's wonderful. And anybody who happens to stumble onto this, it's very simple. The Greater Good Network, if you just go on there and sign up under the animal rescue site, they will send you a reminder each day to click. And every time you click, it's, I don't know how many bowls of food. So, you know, if you do it enough in the course of the day, you can help fill those trailers that you're renting. And that's great. I'm so glad to hear that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's been in the tons, and that's not an expression, that's literal. We've gotten tons of.
That's wonderful. Well, unfortunately in the news, we've been following the case of Lady Bell. Yeah. We'd like to know how she is, and also about Sophie's Fund, because I would presume that Lady Bell might have benefited from Sophie's Fund.
Oh, she certainly did. Thank you for asking about her. That this has been a really heartbreaking um, case because she was so grievously injured and couldn't even stand up when we rescued her, covered in stab wounds, severe injury to her eye, and yet did what so many of these animals do when they see one of our officers and know that it's someone they can trust. Wagged her tail when she was rescued, and we didn't know if she was going to survive at first because she had so many injuries and she was so weak and so emaciated and literally couldn't walk. We have a wonderful fund that we reach out to the community to contribute to what has been Sophie's fund to allow us to look at animals like Ladybell when they come in and know we don't have to hesitate. We can just send them to the veterinarian. We don't have to run it through the bureaucracy or get lots of layers of approval, that we can just act in the face of an animal in need. And so when Lady Bell came in, she needed a lot of veterinary care and depleted that fund. And so we did a plea to the community to raise money to help not only care for Lady Bell, but to replenish that fund so that when the next animal comes in, we can make that same immediate decision to get emergency medical care. And the community has been amazing. We've raised over $96,000 for the fund, and Lady Bell benefited from it. As a matter of fact, some breaking news that I can share with you, we're going to name it Lady Bell's Fund now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because we know her, we've got an animal that so many community members have come together around, and we know she's going to survive now, so we can have pictures of her to promote the fund. And we're just so grateful that people at a time when so much is uncertain were so reliable and so dependable in coming forward to give us money to treat her and to share in our outrage that someone treated her this way. Some of the donations that came in actually have gone to a $10,000 reward fund, because now that we know she's going to survive and she's on the road to recovery, we want to find out who did this to her, because whoever would hurt her like this would hurt a person too. Her injuries were really an act of depravity, and we need to find out who did this.
Well, I understand we may have a visit today.
Yes, so Lady Bell is living a really good life in foster care with Barb Hutchison, who is the director of our volunteer program and has fostered dozens, if not hundreds, of animals. So she's one of our most experienced foster moms. And Lady Bell has taken very well to the good life. As a matter of fact, you would never know that she's had any hardship at all. I think she gets a lot of breakfasts in bed. So I think without further ado, let's say hello to Barbara and Lady Bell.
Here she is in all of her glory. Hey.
Wow.
She's maybe not super impressed with being on camera, but she does like treats a lot.
Takes after me.
Yes, we have a lot in common. Me and this dog, we have a lot in common. We both enjoy our treats and a good nap if you can get it. Fortunately, for her, she has access to pretty much 24/7 napping.
Yeah.
And she takes advantage of it. It's her favorite activity.
What has it been like caring for her? Because she was in so dire straits when you got her.
You know, yes, she was. I mean, she was so thin and she really could barely walk still. You know, she had been hospitalized for a few days before I took her. And honestly, I was expecting that she would require a lot more medical care, but our team did such an amazing job getting her through the critical period that I was surprised at how quickly things are healing. You can see this is the eye that we thought we might not have been able to save, and it's perfectly functioning and it's healing just beautifully. Her hair's growing back a little bit. They had to shave that whole side of her head. And she's with the Little Pain Management. She actually hiked a mile on the Appalachian Trail this past weekend.
I saw you on Instagram and
Yeah.
she was walking and I was so excited when I saw that. I couldn't
Yep.
believe it.
No,
You
me
must
neither.
be quite the caregiver.
I think she's just an amazingly resilient dog. It has been just an absolute pleasure to spend time with her. It's a real privilege. And watching her, you know, just get better and come out of her shell. When I first got her, she had just a few little steps getting into my front door, and she struggled with them, and now she races up them. And the first day she jumped on the couch, I like texted everyone I knew, but she's on the couch. You know, it was just, I think I cried. It was just just a wonderful moment of like, oh, she's just getting to be a dog and she feels safe enough to get on the furniture and resume her napping. She's been amazing.
Do you have an idea how old you think? Have they figured out how old we think she might be?
I think that's estimated between 8 and 9. It's hard to tell. One of the main indicators is teeth, and her teeth are in bad shape, and that's not necessarily due solely to age. So,
No.
But I think that's about right. I mean, she's really calm and really does love these naps. So I think that's probably about right. She's got some great manners. She was house trained from the start. I have yet to hear her make a single sound. Not
She
one.
doesn't. Haven't heard her bark?
No barking, no whining, nothing but maybe a little light snoring now and then. The only time she gets super animated is really good treats. She'll get a little animated, and she car rides. She loves to go in the car. As a matter of fact, I have an Outback, a Subaru Outback, and she has gone on definitely a few long rides with me, and she loves to look out the window and she walks back and forth. That's probably the most interested in life that she gets, is in the car.
Well, that's wonderful. Subaru will be so pleased to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I have some pictures of her looking out the window of my car. I'll send them your way.
Oh, please, we would love that. We'll share it with Subaru because it's this share the love and these checks that we're gathered here because of the presentation comes from the idea of Subaru.
Right.
And they do love pets, much as we do.
Yes, I know. That was one of the reasons I purchased that Outback, was because I love their giving back, and especially that it includes animals, since that's been my life's work.
Yes, and allowing us to have a hometown charity that we could choose was a really added feature for us.
I think so. For me too, I love that people could choose. I was really happy to check the boxes when I had my choice when I got my Outback, and I love that people can choose to make that donation, help their own community.
Well, we thank you. Subaru thanks you. And
thank you. Well, we thank you
Thank you for taking such good care of Lady Bell.
It has been my pleasure.
I think everybody thinks it's their dog.
Well, she is. She's everyone's dog. Happy to share the love with her and everyone who's interested in her outcomes.
Lisa, are you still with us? Yes, you are.
I am. And I think that, this is just such a special occasion. And I think it's so appropriate that we have Lady Bell here, because she and her story represents the work that we do. And share the love is really a phrase that explains why she's still with us and how she has triumphed over so much and is now giving back. If you think about what Lady Bell is sharing, she has brought in so many donations that will then go toward other animals like her who have experienced hard times. And so Lady Bell is actually sharing the love just through the awareness and the fact that she is everybody's dog now. She's all of our dogs. She's our community love.
Yeah, it's great. You all do wonderful work, and we're so grateful to be associated with you all and your team. You have a great group of people dedicated to just doing what's best for animals.
Well, Dottie, we are so grateful to you. You very early in the crisis brought us toys and treats to HRA, and your whole team is there for us all of the time advocating for us. You are truly one of the best friends that we have, and one of the best friends to animals in this entire region. You and Subaru have transformed so many lives and saved so many precious animals like Lady Bell.
We're grateful to be a part of it and be able to do it. And I have to mention Tom Dahl, because this was his brainchild to begin with. He's the CEO of Subaru, and he's a wonderful person. And we also, don't forget, coming up in October, I think we're going to probably still be doing it virtually, but we're going to have to see how Subaru Loves Pets will look like this coming October. So we'll get with you all to see what we can do to shine the light.
Well, the one thing that I can be confident in is that together we've been pretty resilient. And I mean, this is a long-term relationship that we've had with you and with Subaru, and we've learned so much in the last few months. And I know that we'll figure out a way to do this together. It may look a little different, but I think that it will be, it'll really highlight these precious pets, and we can be creative and figure this out together.
And maybe Lady Bell can stop in for a visit on that one too, so we can really see her progress.
I
She
think
would
that would
love
be
it. She would love to come meet new friends. She likes everyone she meets, especially if they have treats, and she'd be more than happy.
And she's still got her quarantine hair, but it might be grown out a little bit by October.
It's growing. Just in the last few days, I've noticed that the spots on her back are getting fluffy.
Well, tell her we appreciate her allowing us to stop in her nap time. Next time we see her, we hope she's awake.
She will be. If I get her up and put a leash on her, she wakes right up. She likes to go for walks and rides.
Just go start the car. She'll
There
be
we
there.
go. That's right.
Thank you all so much. And Lisa, your team's great. Talk about creative and fun. We have enjoyed working with them and look forward to continue doing so.
Well, thank you, Dottie. I'm so proud of our team, and it's a privilege to work with them, but your team is great too. I had
Yes, they are.
I had the privilege of buying a Subaru a couple of months ago, and I felt so well treated and well cared for that I can't thank you enough. It's a wonderful, wonderful organization.